what three CDs am I listening to, kind of right now? Hmm. Um, well, for one, Steve Vai's Alien Love Secrets. It's not the newest one, but I really, really like it. And if you haven't heard that, his piece Juice, which conveys the joy of playing music, I think, as well or better than anything ever. The difference between Steve's heavy metal and most of the others is that it's filled with joy rather than angst. Um, I'm listening to a collection of records that were made in the all throughout the countryside in Africa in the 1950s. A man named Hugh Tracy, an English fellow, took a recording caravan just out into the bush, and got music that had never been recorded before, and music that had at that time never been mixed with other instruments or Western ideas. And the stuff is fantastic. Just one amazing thing after another. And then, what else am I listening to? Oh, yes, the new remix of Rubber Soul, the Beatles album. Those three have been in my listening lately. One of the most powerful lessons I ever learned. When I was a freshman in college, that was the year I studied with Julius Baker really intensely. And I had a lot of ideas of my own about the music we were doing, except for one piece. I was convinced that Mr. Baker's recording of the Bach E-flat Sonata was the cat's meow, that anything that could be said was said right there on that record. And I thought, I'm going to play it just like him. And I had also heard that the name of the game at Juilliard was that, the students imitated Mr. Baker. And I wasn't a Juilliard student. I studied with him privately. And so I thought to myself, well, I can copy Mr. Baker as well as any Juilliard student. So I did. I copied the record. Now, I went nuts. I transferred it to quarter-inch tape. I listened to it at full speed, at half speed, and at quarter speed. I wanted to put every vibrato wave where he put it. I was going for the most microscopic detail. Well, I never mentioned this to him. It was just something I was doing. And several months of this practice went by, and one day the student after me was late, and there was some extra time at the end of my lesson, and he said, well, Robert, do you have anything else to play? And I thought, okay, now or never. And I said, well, would you like to hear the Bach E-flat Sonata? He said, sure. So I played the first movement. And to my perception at that moment, I thought, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm playing the man's record for the man himself. And I thought I'd never done it better. I really felt I'd risen to the occasion. Anyway, I finished the first movement. I look over to where he's sitting. I expect to see this beaming, joyful face. And instead, he looks ill. He looks like an immediate Alka-Seltzer was definitely required. He looked like his stomach hurt. And this was not in my fantasy program about how this would go. So he looks at me and goes, "What you play like that for? You sounded so good for the whole hour, and now it sounds like you're not there." Well, I was mighty tiny. And I I managed to explain what the reason I played like that was. And he goes, oh, okay. let me tell you something. No, let me tell you two things. The first is reality. The second is important. Reality. When people want to hear me, they call me. You can imagine at this moment in time, Robert is findable only with, highly calibrated test instruments. I was sitting on an air molecule, feeling like there was no gravity. I thought I was going to faint. I mean, and then Mr. Baker reached out and saved me and taught me the real lesson. He said, I like to feel that I've gotten beyond my teachers. And I want to be sure that my students go beyond me. And I never want to hear another note coming from you that does not sound like yourself. And that was a truly great lesson.